Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of DeepSeededGeek. My name is Jason, I am your host for this show here. And yeah, today we've got a lot to talk about in gaming news, what I'm playing, and a little bit of an opinion that might clash with the general public. So that's at the end of this show. But before we get into the whole deal, you'll notice that, yet again, this is a very long episode. And as always, in the show description, if there's a section that you want to jump to, be it the gaming news, what I'm playing, or my opinion piece, there's little timestamps down below that you can click on and it'll take you right to that section. So, without further ado, we're going to dive right into the gaming news. So the first little bit of news revolves around Square Enix and the Final Fantasy series. Apparently, they've come to terms about grabbing a committee of people to kind of get the Final Fantasy series back on the track that it used to be. The latest entries have not been up to par, starting with the Final Fantasy 13. It had some good things going for it, but it just wasn't the Final Fantasy that everyone was hoping it to be. And then they did sequels, 2 of them, to Final Fantasy 13, which has never really been done before, except for Final Fantasy X2. I should stand corrected. But there's also Final Fantasy 14, which is a new MMO that really did not hit the mark on PC, and now they're relaunching it as a rebirth on PC and PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3, I believe. As well, they just rebranded Final Fantasy 13 Entry as Final Fantasy 15. So it's kind of chaotic in Square Enix department. It's kind of whenever the Enix came into Squaresoft, things have turned into not so great for Square Enix all around. But a couple of the names that they've dropped that are going to be involved in this committee to kind of get things back on track. I hope I say these names right. Naoki Yoshida, who was the director of the Dragon Quest Monster Battle games and Final Fantasy XIV, The Realm Reborn. Hajime Tabata, director of Final Fantasy Type O, which was a PSP game, and Final Fantasy spin-offs before Crysis and Crysis Core. I believe those two were also PSP games. So that guy might be in charge of the handheld department. Motomoyu Toriyama, who was the director of the Final Fantasy 13 series, which in my opinion should have maybe not been on the committee. Yoshinori Kitase, who is a longtime series producer of the Final Fantasy series, and was the director of Final Fantasy 7 and 8. So having him on the committee means maybe things are going to be coming back to the way we like them. A bunch of other people are designed. They've quoted that there is this committee, it does exist, but they didn't want to make official names other than those who are on this committee, who's going to be having a part in it. But maybe it's going to be a good turnaround for the Final Fantasy series, and for all us fans, it sounds like good news. Next bit of news is the fact that Windows, what do they call it? Windows Live for Games, or Games for Windows Live, however they pronounced it, that is dead. And because of that, a bunch of games that were accessible through Windows games there, all your achievements, all your progress and everything like that, it is gone from that service. Now, most of the games were available on Steam as well. One in particular was Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Arkham City. Now, you can finally get your trophies or I guess they call them achievements on Steam for the games, which is great, because now you can keep track of that if you're a trophy hound like I am. But the crap thing is that now that Windows or Games for Windows Live is dead and gone, all your save content is gone as well. So whatever achievements, whatever progress you've made on those games, even though you've had them on Steam for a long time, that game save is gone. Now, for most people, that's not a big deal, because that's probably a game you played a long time ago. But for some guy who played both games to completion on Steam during the summer, that kind of pisses me off. So maybe there will be a workaround between now and then. But if that's the case, guess I gotta go back to Gotham City. Oh well, twist my arm. And it's just in time too, because Batman Arkham Oranges Welcome to not editing the videos anymore. Batman Arkham Origins is just around the corner, so I'm glad I played through the series. I don't have to go back, and now I can enjoy Batman Arkham Origins. Or oranges. I don't know. Maybe he makes good oranges. Who knows? Next up on the list is a little game, well, a couple of games that are coming into development pretty soon. There is a game that is just beautiful. It's called, hold up, I'm pulling it up. My phone's a little slow. Beeswing. And to look at it, it looks like a watercolor painting come to life. Like, you remember those little, they were kind of chalky paints you'd have like in grade school, and you'd make like these really wet, damp portraits of like suns and rainbows. It looks like that kind of artistic style. And it looks like it plays kind of like the SNES RPG kind of things. Now, typically, a game in that kind of thing, you have to do puzzle quest and find things to go to another path, or you need to do some sort of turn-based strategy, fighting thing, you know. This game is all about exploration, and it's just about the narrative. Apparently, it's based on the country and the land and the town that the game developer grew up around. I believe he's from New Zealand or Australia. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. But pretty much it's retelling his events in his life through his childhood in these places that he grew up with. So the little house that he lived in, the village that he would go visit, it's all built into the world. And the animation kind of changes a little bit, where it'll go from that watercolor thing to claymation to maybe pixel art, you know? So it just sounds so intriguing. And the way the guy describes it, it's not a game in the sense as it's just you're reliving these moments through his life. So it sounds experimental. It sounds a lot like To the Moon, if you guys have ever played that. If not, shame on you. You should be playing that game. So yeah, should be coming out next year, I believe he said, and it's still looking for funding on Kickstarter. So if you want to look it up, check it out. Beeswing, and give him some support if you can. Next one up, the composer from the Plants vs. Zombies series, excuse me, gotta scratch my eyeball, is developing a game, again, kind of similar to the Moon, and it's got a Spirited Away kind of feel to it, apparently, where, how can we describe this? A story-based adventure game about a young child who becomes bored with living in a hospital. The game is called Rakuen, Rakuen, hopefully I said that right. The boy asks his mother to accompany him to a fantasy world from his very favorite storybook. The child discovers more about his fellow patients as he goes about his adventures, who have their own respective secrets and struggles. This just sounds so cool, okay? Like, you always hear about, like, Make-A-Wish Foundation kind of stuff, or, you know, kids who are always in hospitals. Well, this is like putting yourself in their perspective, living their dreams that they hope to have one day. It just sounds like it's going to crush your heart. And I love games like that do have a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of sadness at the same time. So, yeah, check that out as well. Next up, what do we got? If my phone would work for me, this would be great. It's good that I prepare for these shows. All right, next one up was a study done at, I believe, Stanford University. And the study was on how female representation in games affect women in real life. So basically, they researched about 86 female participants between the age of 18 and 41. Women played as an avatar dressed in either revealing or conservative clothing. And some of the characters were modified to look like the actual person that was playing the games. And afterwards, they would ask them a bunch of questions and give them like a scale of 1 to 5, which is true, false, you know how those work. And the way their questions kind of went along, they asked one here, when asked questions such as, in the majority of rapes, the victim is promiscuous or has a bad reputation. The researchers apparently found that women who played as the sexualized versions of themselves were more likely to agree or strongly agree with that statement than those who played non-sexualized avatars. So, here's my beef with this. You can go off and read the whole study, and they did a lot of like, how can I put this? You ever hear that joke about, or that mind game where it's like, okay, repeat this to me. Say this out loud. Joke. Joke. What does that spell? Joke? Okay, say joke 3 times out loud. Joke, joke, joke. Okay, say it again. Joke, joke, joke. Now, here's a question. What do you call the white part of the eggs? How many people thought yolk? Yeah, that's the suggestive kind of part to it, right? It's in your brain. You're thinking, ooh, it's a rhyme kind of thing, and you go right for that, okay? If you're playing someone like over-sexualized and everything, and then you're asked a sexualized question, your brain is already kind of catered to that. It's what, if you were in law terms, leading the witness, okay? So, yeah, like, I mean, I go to a movie and I go see Batman on the screen. When I get into my car, I'm driving the freaking Batmobile, okay? I know I'm not Batman, okay? And I drive a Vibe, okay? So I'm by no means Batman. But you're in that mode where it's like, I am the knight, and you just peel off, So to do that kind of study where it's like we're putting you in this situation, we're stimulating you with all this kind of thing, all the kind of like media that would make you think this way. And then we're going to ask you questions that make you think that way as well, You're setting them up. So that's not much of a study, Like just take them out of their like video game thing, okay? And play, something derogatory on TV. Play something, Ally McBeal, who knows, whatever. And do the questions again. You're probably going to get the same thing, okay? It's because whatever is being shown to them is sending them down that path, okay? So it's not... They make it sound like, ooh, video games are tempting us to go this way with our thoughts. But no, you are setting them up that way, okay? But anyway, I could have it totally wrong, but that's the way I read the whole article. And with that, that is the gaming news for today. So check those out. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about Final Fantasy finally getting some creative talent? What do you think of these games that are coming out? What do you think about losing all your Batman saves? And what do you think about the study about women and their perspective in video games? Let me know in the comments section, but right now, we're going to move on to what I've been playing. So, of course, as many of you know from previous episodes, that I have been playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and I will keep this short and simple. I'm not playing it anymore. It's not that I've finished it, okay? I just realized this is not my kind of game. And I will get into that in my opinion section, okay? But since I wasn't playing Grand Theft Auto 5 anymore, I thought there must be some other games I can get into, okay? And I wasn't sure what I was feeling, So I have my big list of catalog games that I could go through, and I went down the list to see if there was something just quick that I could just get a little bit of time in. I played through Fez, okay? Now, I've been talking about that since last year, and I was waiting for a long time to find it on the cheap, on the Steam sale, and I got it, and I played through it, and it is awesome, okay? It can be as long or as short of a game as you want it to be, okay? Which I found out the hard way. You basically go through as a little 8-bit character named Gomez, who's just adorable, and he's got a little fez on his head. He's awesome. And you live in this 2D kind of world where it's just 8-bit kind of pixel world, and it's beautifully rendered. I mean, if you look up any articles with the director, Phil Fish, he literally went through each pixel to make sure that it looked the way he wanted it to. Okay, he didn't just let some program generate the whole thing. He went back afterwards and manipulated everything so it looked to his specifications, and it shows. He came up with things that are just unbelievable. Anyway, so you live as this Gomez guy in a 2D world, and when the magical fez hits your head, you realize that your 2D world is actually a 3D world, and you can manipulate it. So basically, all the puzzles are revolved around 2D versus 3D perspective. It's genius how it was built. There's not too much of a story, but there are many puzzle things that kind of open up new avenues of thought within the game. And there are so many hidden secrets and so many little Easter eggs all over the place. It is endless amounts of fun. The only trick is that be aware of where the final door for the game is, like the final, like where it says exit. Okay, it doesn't literally say exit, but just be aware of that. Maybe look up online like which door is the last one you need to go through before the game just ends. Okay, so that way you don't miss any of the puzzles or any of the worlds you want to go to. And one little funny little glitch that happened to me that I think actually made the game better is that when I went through the exit, and this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but I'll try and keep it spoiler free-ish. I went through the exit, and what happens is you're taken through this psychedelic thing. Okay, I'll leave it at that. And it reminded me of 2001 Space Odyssey. And when I went through this door, there was no sound. There was no music, there was no nothing, and it was just me and this visual kaleidoscope. And it was amazing. Through everything that I had done up until that point, to just sit back and be absorbed in this visual, it was incredible. It wasn't until I got to the very last scene that I realized, oh no, this is a glitch. There is actually supposed to be music and things playing in the background. So it was great for me. It looked great. But then I went back and watched video gameplay footage online, and I realized, oh no, there's supposed to be a soundtrack and everything, and then something happens. So I missed out on that, but it was pretty good for me. So Fez, I can't recommend it highly enough. The only sad news about it is that after you're done, your first thought is like, oh man, I hope they make a sequel. And as most of you know, because the highly publicized controversy around it, Phil Fish has quit the industry and has nixed Fez 2 from ever being developed. So, thanks a lot, Phil. I have opinions on that, but that's a whole nother discussion. Another game I played was Magic the Gathering 2014. Path of the Flameswalker? I don't remember the name of it. But it's that one you see on Steam right now. It's on sale all the time. And I caught it on a Steam sale. And some buddies of mine, they always ask me, like, would you ever get into Magic the Gathering? And to be honest with you guys, I am still picking away at some of the nerd core of my being, okay? Like, I never read sci-fi books until this year. I never would have watched Game of Thrones if it hadn't been for a buddy of mine a number of years ago. I would have never played D&D if it wasn't for Kip back in the day, okay? But they've exposed me to all these things, and they're amazing. So when my friends asked me if I played Magic the Gathering, I said, no, because I don't want to do that card deck stuff. It doesn't seem like my kind of thing. Well, I see it enough times on Steam, and I know my friends are dying to get some players in. So I thought, well, why don't I just buy the game, learn the ropes, and see if it's my bag? Well, holy cow. That is a groovy little game, okay? I can see why it's so popular, because it's easy to get into it. And at least the way I'm being taught on the game, it's very easy to get a hold of it, where it's like the basics is like math, you know, like 3, okay, it cancels each other out. 3, 2, okay, this guy dies, you win, and away you go. And it's just about building a foundation to excel your characters and everything. And it's just a strategy. Oh, it's beautiful, man. It's very well done. Applause to, you know, Wizards of the Coast there. That's a great game. I'm by no means a master at it just yet. I'm still going through the tutorial, still going through the campaign mode and everything like that. But hopefully it's a way to kind of expose myself to it, and maybe eventually I will get into the actual card game, or find some of you guys and play against you guys online, and then you could kick my butt and say, ha, DeepSeededGeek, he's no gamer. But I am having a lot of fun with it. So thank you to my nerd friends who exposed me to that, and we will be getting our game on real soon. Other than that, I did a little bit of playthrough of Deadlight. I haven't finished it yet, but man, that is a solid game. I'm not too sold on the story itself, but beautiful. It's got a creepy aesthetic to the zombie apocalypse kind of thing. And just to make it restricted to the side-scrolling kind of thing, beautifully done. Just like Mark of the Ninja, where they took stealth mechanics and they incorporated it into a 2D game flawlessly. Looks like Deadlight's got something going on like that too. But when I finish that game, I will give you my full thoughts, alright? But those are the games I have been playing. Now, on to my comments on Grand Theft Auto 5. So here's the deal. Have you guys ever played a game, and while you're playing it, you're thinking, oh, I'm not into this game, but damn it, I gotta finish it. I gotta get through it all. That was Grand Theft Auto 5 for me, okay? And there have been a number of games like that for me, okay? Just to name a few. Assassin's Creed 2. I played through the whole thing. I got the Platinum Trophy on Assassin's Creed 2. But if you ask me if I enjoyed the game, no, I didn't. Why did I get the Platinum? Because I was so close to getting it, and that's the only reason I did. Resident Evil 5 was another one. It was a beautiful game, but I wasn't digging the gameplay. It wasn't scary. It wasn't challenging like Grand Theft Auto 4, Resident Evil 4. It just didn't have that vibe of the Resident Evil games. And by the end of the game, it was just ridiculous to me. So I didn't like that one either. And the big one, Gears of War. I have tried so hard to get into that series because people love it, okay? It's one of the reasons why I got an Xbox 360, so I can tap into that game. Well, I played through the first one, and I didn't get it. It just totally wasn't my bag. I mean, the steroid guys with the gun that's like everything a big anarchist would want, and the curb stomp. I think that's what really did it for me. That curb stomp, I don't know. I grew up in a day and age where curb stomps were things you actually feared of happening to you, okay? So the idea that this big, buff, macho jock was just curb stomping guys, it just didn't sit right with me. So along comes Grand Theft Auto 5. And as I'm playing the game, I'm thinking, number one, I recalled how much I didn't like Grand Theft Auto 4, but I played through that whole game, and I was unsatisfied with that when that ended. The only reason I bought it on Steam again is because I heard of all these crazy mods you could do where you can play like as Iron Man. That sounds awesome. Plus the online features would be really cool to have like 4 friends just going around and just playing against each other. I could see how that could be ridiculous fun. And I will try Grand Theft Auto Online once some of my other friends get the game. I think they're holding out for PC. I don't know if I would buy this game twice though. But we'll see. Who knows? By no means am I saying this is a crappy game, okay? Let's be clear. Grand Theft Auto 5 has so much in this game, it's insane, okay? The graphics are amazing for the amount of landscape that they have, the amount of things that you can do in the game. I know they put a lot of time and effort into the story. The voice actors are great and everything. It's just that their characters, their story, and just what's the word? The reason for these characters to be their goals and everything in the game, they don't appeal to me. You know, and I could see how this could be very appealing to a lot of people, you know, where it's just like complete anarchy and you can do and say whatever you want. It's just like, you know, you have a crappy day at work, you come home, you run over your boss, screw you. You know, I get it. I totally get it, you know. It's just not my thing, you know. I have so many variety of tastes in games that it baffles me that this doesn't appeal to me, okay? Like, if you want uber violent kind of stuff, I mean, I love Bioshock. That was Bioshock Infinite. That was insanely violent. The Last of Us, incredibly violent, okay? But there's something about how the violence is presented to me in Grand Theft Auto 5 that I just don't dig, or how it's very nonchalant or casual, you know. It just, and this is not me harping on video games and violence or anything like that. It's just the way it's presented to me, you know. There are movies that I don't really sit well with, that portray things very realistic to a fault, you know, like the movie Kids. You really can't sit through that movie and feel good about it. Or things like Boys in the Hood. That movie didn't sit right with me. It's because I can't relate to these things. And that's not an escapism I want to be a part of, if that makes any sense. So yeah, this year there have been a number of games where I started playing them and I realized this isn't the game for me, and I just had to back away from it. And Grand Theft Auto 5 was the hardest one to do that with. I mean, I did it with Tomb Raider just because that didn't make any sense that Lara Croft goes from knowing nothing to having an AK-47 and shooting a guy from groin to jawline in like a span of like 2 hours from the start. Made no sense to me, so I didn't gel with that. What was another one? Dishonored. You'd think I would love Dishonored, being a big stealth fan, and looks like it plays like a cool kind of Bioshock influence, but it didn't sit right with me for some reason. Just didn't grab me. And then Grand Theft Auto 5. I gave it 12 hours. 12 hours. But I got through a bunch of side missions, a lot of the storylines, got introduced to all the characters, and I got up to a scene where there's a torture. And that's when I said, this isn't entertaining for me. I'm not having fun. I don't like this. And I just had to stop it. So, unfortunately, Grand Theft Auto 5 and many games that have come and gone, they just didn't do it for me. So I just don't want to waste my time trying to get through it and just end up with a bunch of hours that I wish I had spent on other games. I hope you guys can respect that. I know some of you are probably looking for my opinion on the game. Well, you pretty much got it now. But if you're loving the game, tell me if there's something I'm missing out on. Let me know what your thoughts are on Grand Theft Auto 5. Let me know if there are games that you've played that you kind of sat back afterwards and you thought, you know, I wish to God I had my time back on that one, you know? Or if you've been so compelled with a game that you just couldn't put it down, but you knew it was a bad game. You know, I hear that with a lot of people who play World of Warcraft. After year 2 of playing it, people who still are like engrossed with the whole thing, they're just like, I can't stop. I don't want to play this game anymore, but it just keeps sucking me back, you know? There's good side of that. I mean, Skyrim, I put in like 130 hours twice, so 260 hours into 2 different versions of Skyrim, and I don't regret a single second of it, but I realized that was a life sucker. So I'm kind of feeling guilty about it, but at the same time, it's a good guilt. Grand Theft Auto 5, unfortunately, didn't do that for me. So, long story short, if you have comments on this opinion of mine, if you want to share your thoughts on Grand Theft Auto or games that you have felt the same way about, please let me know in the comment section below. And with that, that brings our video to a close. Thank you so much for watching this video. But before you go, I want to remind you guys that this coming Sunday, October 27th at 5 p.m. North American time, that's Central Time, we are going to be doing DeepSeededGeek Live, the first of the month, okay? We're going to be basing it around horror-themed games, scary games that we've grown up with, scary games that are current, where we see it going. If you want to be a part of that in 2 ways, you can be on the show if you have a channel of your own and you want to promote it a little bit and talk with us. Hit me up, send me a message, and we'll try and get you on that show. If you want to just watch the show and comment in the chat section, we'll have guys monitoring that so I can answer questions as we go along. And other than that, thank you very much for watching this video. Again, it means so much to me, you guys. So if you dig it, you know what to do. Hit like, favorite the video, share this video with your friends and family. Always leave a comment in the comment section below if you want to hear something from me, an opinion piece, or my stance on a game. Subscribe as always, and we shall see you guys next time on DeepSeededGeek. Take care, y'all.